this is Dr. Bridget Bongard, Medical Director of Maui Cancer Wellness Retreats. And today we're bringing you a really unique series from our integrative oncology work. And this is to help you relieve symptoms. This one is on shortness of breath. And our instructor today has an extensive yoga background, studied in India, taught in the United States, and she's bringing all her expertise to us to help us solve the problem of shortness of breath and give us relief with this by doing specific yoga practices that open up the lungs and allow you to breathe more fully. And now I'd like to introduce to you Dr. Joy Taylor.
Aloha and welcome. It's my pleasure to give you a series of exercises that are going to combine movement with what's called pranayama, which is breathing exercises. So shortness of breath can tend to happen when we undergo surgery or when we're not getting a lot of physical activity. Whatever the reason, pranayama is an excellent way to deepen your breath and to ease into a normal way of breathing. Welcome back. So one thing I'd like to explain that's very important about our breathing is the concept of Ujjayi breathing. And this is basically ocean breathing, breathing the sound of the ocean or white noise through our throat and then through our lungs. So we have this type of a sound whether we're breathing through our nose or through our mouth. So if our mouth is closed, we also want to have that sound. So with our mouth open, of course, it's easier to get that sound because we have all of the input coming in. We've got our whole mouth open, so you can just easily hear it as I demonstrate now. Okay, to accomplish that with the mouth closed is the same technique of the chest and the throat. So you're inhaling. So that's a closed mouth Ujjayi. So you want to have that sound when it comes through the nose and out of the nose, and the same as when you're breathing in and out of the mouth. In these exercises, we're going to employ 4 types of pranayama. So pranayama is breathing postures. Okay, so what I find important as we're increasing our breath and we're going from shortness of breath to deepening of breath is to go through these 4 types of breath. So we inhale through the nose. Breath 1 is inhaling through the nose and exhaling through the nose. In that exercise, our mouth is closed and all of the breath is coming in through the nostrils. Now, the breath tends to change from right nostril to left nostril, and we don't really worry about that in this exercise, but just know that that's a calibration of the lungs and of the breathing. So that's breath 1. Breath 2, we will breathe in through the nose and out of the mouth. Breath 3, we will breathe into the mouth and out of the nose. Breath 4, we'll breathe into the mouth and out of the mouth. So just to give you an example, this is breath 1, breathing into the nose and breathing out of the nose. And that's with our Ujjayi breathing. And breath 2, in through the nose, out of the mouth. And breath 3, in through the mouth, out of the nose. And breath 4, in through the mouth, out of the mouth.
Wanted to put this slide in because a lot of times we've forgotten where things are in our body and how it is all sort of hooked together in a really integral pattern. So when we're on the computer or we're hunched over thinking, as we do much of the day, our whole rib cage begins to compress. Our diaphragm kind of drops up into the chest from the pressure of the abdominal organs on it. And what happens is we get restriction and shortness of breath just from that. So by even changing our posture, you notice in this anatomical picture that there are intercostal muscles, which means muscles between the ribs that will now open up and become elastic and allow you to get a much bigger breath, which will give, as Dr. Taylor said, will give you a lot more energy and oxygenation.
So there's diaphragmatic breathing, which is very important. And there's also something very important, a little deeper than that, is breathing through the stomach. So what we want to try to accomplish on some of the postures that we'll be doing today, some of the exercises, is actually feeling that we can breathe all the way in through the belly and exhale from the belly all the way out so that we get that stream of air flowing through. Know that as you go through these exercises, it's very important to take a rest between each cycle. So if there's a cycle of 3 or a cycle of 7, rest in between, come back to normal breathing, notice the difference, notice the change before you go on to the next exercise. And again, doing these exercises, the number of times that you do the exercises is your own choice. There's a recommended number of cycles, and I'll tell you what that recommendation is for each exercise. And you do as much as you can. So you'll have a choice between standing or sitting. We'll show you those 2 different options. When you are standing, you can feel free to use your arms to extend them outward. Extending your arms outward always opens up the diaphragm, gives you much more extension. And if you have access to doing that, great. You can accomplish the same things by putting the hands on the hips while you're standing or sitting, or the hands on the knees if you're sitting on the floor or in a chair, and extending and opening the chest.
What about up, Dr. Taylor? Is that really
also up? So we'll be showing you, as we demonstrate the difference between the standing and the sitting, we'll be showing you where to move your arms up and down, and you'll have the option of doing it while sitting or while standing. So as you proceed with these exercises, it's very important to take a break and a rest in between cycles and also in between exercises. So we'll begin with exercise 1, which is a cat and cow on the cycle of all of those 4 breaths. We'll do 3 cycles each on each breath. I will demonstrate just 1 breath, so it'll be up to you to remember and review all of the 4 breaths and to do them 3 cycles each. So I will demonstrate breath 4. And the way we want to do this cat and cow, so basically you're pushing your chest out and you're lifting your head up, and that's what we will call a cat and cow in sitting. And then you're leaning back, and that's stretching just like a scared cat as you arch your back. Okay, so as you bring your chest up, you inhale, and as you bring your chest back, you exhale. So using breath 1, I'll do 3 cycles completely. So starting now, and and that is breath 4 in 3 cycles. And once you've done all 4 breaths, you have completed exercise 1 and can go on to the next exercise. Okay, our next exercise is shimmy. Now, this is a fun exercise. It comes more from a dance perspective. And once we move our shoulders right and left, you'll feel where there's any shortness or any constriction in the lungs. And what I'd like you to do is very be very careful here and pace yourself with your shimmy. So we'll start with just a slow shimmy right and left, just moving the shoulders right and left. And then you go at your own pace and you slowly increase the pace, moving the shoulders right and left. And then increase the pace again. And you increase the pace until you're in a nice dance shimmy. And you might have to bring your hands off of your knees at that point. And just have fun and play with it. Okay, and you can do that using all 4 breaths. Now, for this exercise, I'm going to use breath 1 to demonstrate, inhaling through the nose and out through the nose. So I'll start. And relax once you've increased to your maximum pace. So it's a very invigorating move. And as you can see, when the pace gets faster, the breath gets shorter. So once you've gone through all 4 breaths, you've completed that exercise and you can go on to the 3rd exercise. So this 3rd exercise is a variation of the first, the variation of cat and cow. So instead of just sitting here and extending the head up and the chest back, we actually will move forward and then move back. Moving forward and moving back, which gives a much deeper opening for the lungs. You can also place your hands to the side if you prefer. So I'll demonstrate breath 2 for this exercise. So I'll inhale through the nose and exhale through the mouth. So in 3 cycles each, and this is called rocking. So and once you've done 3 cycles of that with all 4 breaths, take a rest, and you've completed that exercise. And now we continue on to our next exercise, which I call a restful back bend. So basically it's a very easy seated back bend. I'll give you a standing variation later. You bring your hands behind you and you bring your shoulder blades together and lift your chest up and out. And that's your back bend basically. And from there you can do all 4 breathing exercises, and we'll do in 3 cycles basically. So I'll demonstrate now. Breath 3, inhaling through the mouth, exhaling out of the nose. So starting now. And once you've completed 4 of those exercises on the 4 breaths, you can take a rest and then go on to the next exercise. So for this next exercise, I highly recommend using a bolster. You can sit, as I'm seated now, cross-legged in Swastikasana, or I actually recommend that you sit in what's called Virasana, bringing the bolster behind you, or any type of support that you can sit on to give your knees some relief. But basically we're going into belly breathing, so you want to have more openness in the belly here. So if depending on your gender, so often women can be a little bit conscious about their belly areas, and I want to say just to let go of that idea for the moment, because this is about bringing a lot of air through and the entire core of our body. So we'll be extending the belly out as much as we can, and then bringing it in as much as we can. So when we inhale, we're going to push out, and you exhale, you pull it all the way in. And so take very slow breaths here. And I'll demonstrate 3 cycles of breath 4. I highly recommend that if you're watching, you can pause at any point and go through all of the breaths and then come back and complete breath 4 with me in this exercise. So starting, and hopefully you can see my belly. So starting now, I'm going to start on the inhale and then exhale. So and relaxing. So once you've completed all 4 of those breathing exercises, you can go on to the next exercise. So for this next exercise, we'll use a bolster as well, or if you prefer, you can use a rolled towel, something that'll give you a little bit of support for your upper back. So this is going to be a supported back bend. And what we're doing is simply lying down and resting with the support of a prop. So that could be a rolled blanket, or again, a rolled towel, or this bolster. Now, if you have a bolster that's sort of high, you'll want to have a pillow underneath your head so that you don't have any unnecessary compression on your neck. So I'll use this bolster here, which is going to give you the most height. What's nice about this posture is that you've got a very natural opening of the chest. You can let your arms come out to the side and just relax your head down. And close your eyes. You can have your mouth open. That will give you the most air coming into your chest. And if you choose to simply relax with the mouth closed, that's okay too, because you've got a lot of support for your lungs with the arms spread out and the upper back supported. And I would say do that for 10 minutes, 10 to 15 minutes. And once you've completed that, you're ready to go on to do something else with your day. Thank you. So I'd like to offer some standing variations for the first 3 exercises. Exercise 1 being cat and cow, exercise 2 is shimmy, and exercise 3 are rocking back and forth. So starting with the cat and cow, I'll give you a side view so that you can see. The way we'll do this standing is we'll just bring our hands to our backs and on our hips actually, and then we'll use our elbows to lift up and also to pull in. So this is our standing cat and cow. It's a nice massage for the shoulders too as we move them forward and back and lift the head. So using breath 1, inhaling through the nose and out through the nose, I will demonstrate this exercise. And once you've done all 4 breaths, that will complete that exercise and you can move on to the next exercise. So the next exercise is our shimmy exercise. I'll give you a few options here. You can stand in Tadasana with your legs rooted to the ground, pressing firmly. If you lift your toes, you can feel most of the pressure of where you should be, and then you can put your toes back onto the ground and the legs are nice and firm, so you can stay here in Tadasana and do your shimmy from here, or you can step your feet about 2 to 2.5 feet apart and you can do your shimmy from there, or you can just go also hip width apart and do your shimmy from there. Okay, so I'm going to demonstrate with hip width apart. That's sort of the middle of the line. And I will demonstrate breath 2 this time. So inhaling through the nose, out through the mouth. Okay, so inhaling So it can be a little challenging with that type of a breath to do it faster. So you can start slowly and then slowly increase your pace. So for this next exercise, with rocking, I'll give you a few variations on what you can do with your hands. So one of the first is, of course, standing with your hands on your hips, and you can move forward and back into a tabletop. So just coming sort of halfway forward and halfway back. You can bend your knees if you need to here as well. Okay. Or you can straighten your knees. Now if you have your knees straightened, you want to make sure that as you come forward that your navel is to spine. Okay, so you're protecting your low back. Now if you can get your full range of motions, we'll add some arm movements to that. So you'd come forward, down to the ground, allow your hands to touch, then you inhale your arms up.
Thank you so much, Dr. Taylor. This was fantastic. I can just feel so much more energetic. Breathing is easier. And you know what? It's really made me aware of my posture.
Oh, wonderful.
Which is going to help, right?
Yes.
So once again, we want to thank you for joining us. And we also want to say that we have more in our Integrative Oncology series and invite you to come to the next one, which is a video with Dr. Taylor again on helping to resolve and prevent constipation, really common symptom that oncology patients get. Thank you.